This is exactly what I've been waiting for. After about a month or so of waiting, we've just gotten our first glimpse at the new Warzone map coming to Call of Duty Vanguard later this year, and purely based on the few clips that we've seen from the Vanguard multiplayer reveal trailer, I can already tell that this map is going to be a big change for Warzone. We're moving from the rather unsaturated, Soviet-dominated Verdansk 84 in the Cold War over to the Pacific Ocean, a large island that is presumably set during World War II to tie in with Vanguard. No specific date for the launch of this map yet. They've said that it will just come soon after the launch of Vanguard. Most COD games do have that period after their launch where there's no season at all. They just let people play for the first few weeks and then a season will kick in. I reckon that's when we'll see that map launch, at the start of Season 1. Just my guess though, we've got no official info at the moment. The map itself is entirely new, according to Raven Software. They're the team building the map, by the way, alongside a bunch of other studios. Everything's been made from the ground up in the improved IWA engine that Vanguard runs on. So that means entirely new assets, all new points of interest, lush landscapes, rocky outcrops, and many as yet unseen areas. So this will be a brand new experience, unlike Verdansk 84, which was very much just a reskin of the original Verdansk map that launched back in 2020 with Modern Warfare. The clips that we get to see show a much more vibrant looking map, very similar in its colour palette to Rebirth Island, which in my opinion is definitely a good thing, moving away from that grey, brown, mushy feeling that we have on Verdansk 84. And Amos Hodge from Raven has said that having this new map as well is giving the team a proper way to craft the narrative, the story around Warzone this time, which is what Modern Warfare 2019 had. We had that full story throughout all the seasons with Task Force 141, Captain Price against Zakayev, and they were conducting operations around Verdansk. There was an underlying story as to what was going on. We sort of had that with Black Ops Cold War, but to me it felt very shoehorned in, and it was very much an afterthought really. I mean, in Season 4 and Season 5, basically nothing has happened in Warzone. The new map is roughly the same size as Verdansk, and it's been built based on learnings from the community over the past 2 years, and according to Raven, the result is a fun and compelling gameplay space with lots of places to explore and loads of locations for different types of combat. Now that does all sound pretty awesome. I, like you, am very much looking forward to a brand new Warzone map finally coming to the game after nearly 2 years. But I do have a few concerns, and I'm sure many of you out there as well do. We do have limited information at the moment, and that's obviously by design. Raven doesn't want to give everything away the first time that they announce it or they show it off. But there are some underlying concerns. First of those, for me, comes from the fact that this Warzone map is being built on the same technology as Vanguard. Now, you might think that's a weird reason to be concerned about it, but I am still concerned because I've played the multiplayer of Vanguard already. I was lucky to be allowed to play alongside a bunch of other YouTubers, content creators, and people from like games journalism over the course of a couple of days. So I've played Vanguard multiplayer for about 6 hours now, and whilst it does feel quite similar to Modern Warfare 2019 in terms of its gameplay flow, there are a few glaring differences, and one of them that's made me feel quite nervous for the new Warzone map is the audio setup. Now, at the moment, in Vanguard multiplayer, footsteps are extremely quiet, and the ambient noises of all of the maps are very quiet as well. That makes sense for multiplayer because it seems the team at Sledgehammer want to reward movement and flanking in their game, so by making sure that footstep audio is quieter than it has been in the past, and ambient noise is quite low, you're going to craft an experience where aggressive players, they can flank around and be rewarded by killing players, but also the ambient noise being low enough that a player that's concentrating on audio might be able to pick out a flanking player and kill them off. That's good for multiplayer when you're playing 6v6 or 12v12 or something like that, but for Warzone, it's a completely different setting, a completely different game mode, in essence, a completely different game. People naturally want to hold power positions within the circle, or they'll just stay motionless in a built-up area to protect themselves. If you add quiet footsteps into that scenario, they could remain almost completely undetected. So I think having louder footstep and ambient audio is definitely needed for Warzone to create a fairer playing environment so that players have got a chance to detect other people's presence based on the audio that they can hear. The way that it works currently in Warzone on Verdansk 84 with the Modern Warfare 2019 engine is, I think, how it should remain. Even if footstep audio is still a bit hit or miss, I think there's some bugs they need to work out, but the third-person audio of people firing guns or plating up round a corner, the sound of someone being revived round a corner, so, you know, that could play massively into different gunfights. The audio needs to be really clear in Warzone so you can understand the situation that you're currently in. Gunfights are more drawn out in Warzone. They last a lot longer than multiplayer 6v6. So the audio needs to reflect that and give you more information. If these things aren't as they currently are in Warzone right now, when the new map launches later this year, I think we could have quite a big problem on our hands. And then there's the weaponry and the gunsmith options for Vanguard. Right now, we don't really know how this new map is being framed. We're presuming it's a World War II map because it's set in the Pacific on an island. There was lots of fighting in the Pacific around those islands during World War II, but there was actually no mention in the reveal trailer or on the Call of Duty website if this map is going to be themed around World War II to tie in with Vanguard, or if Raven is taking a more neutral stance to better accommodate all of the weaponry that they've currently got in Modern Warfare 2019 and Black Ops Cold War, as well as the new Vanguard World War II stuff. Everything's coming together. We're going to be able to play with everything here. If the new map is themed around World War II, then I've got this feeling that the older weapons from the past two games, even though they're technically newer if it was a World War II setting, but whatever, you understand what I'm trying to say, they're going to feel very out of place. There's going to be quite a big disconnect there if you're running around a World War II themed Pacific island with a Ram 7 with green traces on it. It's just not going to feel right. So the fact that Raven up until this point has not chosen to say anything with regards to the time period, that does make me feel like they might be leaving this map in a more neutral position. And it also might mean that they have a plan for a story that isn't connected to World War II, it's not connected to modern day, Modern Warfare 2019, or Black Ops Cold War, which would be quite interesting, I have to say. Regardless of that, however, if you add a bunch of new World War II weapons into this pool that's already full of Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War weapons, that's going to be a bit of a nightmare to keep on top of in terms of balance. We've already seen all the way through Warzone's life just how difficult it can be to give each weapon some kind of place in the balance, and then keep the balance in check every time you update the game. It seems with every update there is some kind of overpowered combination on a certain gun, or just generally an overpowered weapon that got overlooked. I really don't envy the Raven team trying to balance all of these weapons. And then of course there's Vanguard's updated gunsmith system in multiplayer, which is allowing up to 10 attachments to be added to weapons. That's versus the 5 attachments that you can add to Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War weapons. So how's that gonna work? Is Raven gonna go through each weapon in Vanguard and work out what can and cannot be used in terms of attachments in Warzone, and then disable the options that they don't want people to have access to? Or are they simply gonna drop the attachment limit down to 5 for the Vanguard weapons, and then go from there? We saw with the Cold War integration that with different games coming together in Warzone, there are different statistics for the attachments in different games. So for example, Cold War guns had a lot more emphasis on greater movement speed benefits over the Modern Warfare weapons. Vanguard weapons have this subsonic ammunition that keeps them off the minimap, as opposed to suppressors doing that on other guns in Cold War and Modern Warfare. So how's Raven going to approach this situation? There's a lot of mismatches happening here already, and unless Raven have a very clear plan on what they're going to do, it could be a bit of a car crash. I hope they do have a plan. I'm pretty sure they must have a plan. It felt like they didn't really have one with Black Ops Cold War, but maybe that's because they didn't anticipate adding Black Ops Cold War until much later on. But I think it's always been the plan to integrate Vanguard into Warzone. So I hope they do have a clear plan, because if they don't, it could be quite a difficult situation. And plus there's all the lethals and the equipment and all the perks that you have to consider as well. We don't want another situation like the Black Ops Cold War integration where the game was just completely unbalanced for weeks on end. Warzone will suffer very badly if that's the case. I am super excited for the new Warzone map, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in with it. And the initial clips that we've gotten to see, they are good, and they give us a much more vibrant setting, which I like. But I'm also looking forward to Raven coming out with more information on this map and the experience, and how they plan to handle this integration, because it's important that they get it right first time. Unlike with Black Ops Cold War, that integration really hurt Warzone, and the game never quite hit the heights that it hit in 2020 when Infinity Ward was in charge. It seemed they had a clear vision with what they wanted to do. Black Ops Cold War hasn't really felt like that, so I hope Raven know what they want to do with Vanguard in Warzone. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.